Welcome back, everybody. You're here at Yesteryear TV, and we got a special treat. These are the best horror films of the year 2007. We're almost done with the decade of 2010, and these are the best horror films that scared everybody in the year 2007. Let's check it out. "28 Days Later, The Aftermath", a short story set in London during the time period of the film 28 Days Later, told in the form of an animated comic strip. 28 Days Later. Next up we have is 28 Weeks Later. 6 months after the rage virus inflicted on the population of Great Britain, the U.S. Army helps to secure a small area of London for the survivors to repopulate and start over. 28 Weeks Later. I love zombie films. One of my favorite movies, 30 Days of Night. I love this movie. Very creepy and eerie. After an Alaskan town is plunged into darkness for a month, it is attacked by a bloodthirsty gang of vampires. They should do part 2, part 3 on this movie. I love this movie. Really good. 100 Tears. 2 journalists are on the trail of a demented serial killer who may be much closer than they think. 100 Tears. Another favorite movie of mine was the actor John Cusack. I love John Cusack. 1408. Author Michael Ensland, who specializes in debunking paranormal occurrences, checks into the fabled room 1408, and the hotel is haunted. Zibikana. On their way to a concert, a group of teens are diverted by a political protest, only to encounter a family of flesh-hungry psychopaths. Hell's Ground. Zibikana. Hell's Ground. Blood Oath. A group of friends on a weekend camping trip decide to investigate a local urban legend. The trip will change their lives as they are forced into a fight for survival against a horrific monster. Blood Oath. A Nocturne. X and Z are a vampire couple living in an old warehouse in inner city Melbourne. Over the course of one night, they go about their regular business, and one by one, people start to die. A Nocturne. The Final Curtain. A group of college theater students sneak into the Baxter University Theater at night to initiate the fresh meat. Something goes terribly wrong. I always like that. A group of campers, a group of high schoolers, a group of college students, always a group of friends. Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. Wherein alien and predator races descend on a rural Colorado town where unsuspecting residents must band together for any chance of survival. Aliens vs. Predator. I love these films. Alone. Pam is a Thai woman living in Korea with her husband Wee. At her birthday, a friend reads her fortune with a deck of cards and informs that something she has lost will soon return to her. How creepy is that? Alone. American Zombie. Pick documents the daily lives of a small community of the living deceased who make their home in Los Angeles. American Zombie will not disappoint. They Appeared. Melina and Pablo, 2 siblings on a trip through Argentina, find a diary describing crimes committed 20 years before. Adventure, horror, and thriller. They Appeared. This was made for TV. Apartment 1303. A modern ghost story which turns a love-hate relationship between mother and daughter into a tale of horror. Apartment 1308. Supernatural horror and horror. Artifacts. A young woman realizes her friends are being murdered by their own doubles. She and her boyfriend work to solve the mystery before becoming victims themselves. Maybe you should get a life of your own before it's too late. Artifacts. Bad Reputation. A high school girl wrongly branded as the school slut embraces her bad reputation and takes revenge on the kids who have made her life a living hell. I love movies like this. They think she's a slut. She's going to pay them back You watch. Bad Reputation. Barricade. A group of friends are terrorized by a cannibalistic family while camping in the Black Forest of Germany. Barricade. Horror and thriller. And this was straight to video. But it was good. So check out Barricade. Bats. Human Harvest. After 8 years since the events of the first film, a scientist has designed a new species of bat, genetically designed to be biological weapons in a confrontation between Chechen and Americans. Bats. I love bats. Beneath. Christy returns to her hometown years after a car accident that disfigured her older sister. Haunted by the accident in which she was the driver, she learns that her worst nightmares have come true. Beneath. Bikini Bloodbath, straight to video. It's the last day of school and Jenny, the most popular girl in school, decides to have a sleepover to celebrate with her friends. Oh, just so you know, back in high school, I was the most popular boy, teenager in high school. I was the most popular, just so you know. Black Devil Doll. A young, buxom teen vixen finds herself hurled into an odyssey of forbidden sex and unspeakable violence after an innocent evening dabbling in the occult. Black Devil Doll. Black House. Juno, an insurance claims agent, faces off with a client who he suspects of committing murders with the intention of collecting insurance premiums. Horror and thriller. Black House. Black Swarm. Look at all these black movies. The widow, Deputy Sheriff Jane, moves from Manhattan to Blackstone, New York, with her daughter. There she expects to find a safe place to live, but then things take a terrible turn. Okay, how many movies start with black? Is this racist? A boat tour of mangrove swamp turns into a fight for survival when a group of people are attacked by a ferocious black saltwater crocodile. See, black. Everything is black. Black water. Blood and Chocolate. See, there's more of the blacks. A teenage werewolf is torn between honoring her family's secret and her love for a man. Blood and Chocolate. Werewolf horror, drama, and fantasy. I love these movies of 2007. Blood Car. In the near future, gas prices are at an astronomical high. One man is determined to find an alternate fuel source. Human blood. I love it. I love it. He's going to have his car run with human blood. Blood Monkey. A renowned but mad professor leads a small group of American students into the jungles of Africa to investigate a remote tribe of killer chimpanzees rumored to be the missing link. Blood Monkey. Blood Rain 2, Deliverance. Rain, the half-human, half-vampire warrior, ventures to America's 1880s Wild West to stop vampire Billy the Kid. Blood Rain 2. Blood-sucking babes from Burbank. Passionate archaeology students unearth a cursed jewel in the Burbank Mountains that turns the females into bloodthirsty cannibals and the guys into dinner. Bone Eater. Ancient Native American legend of the Bone Eater rises up and begins terrorizing the local townspeople. Bone Eater. I love it. Horror and sci-fi. This was straight to TV, by the way. Probably on the Sci-Fi Network and stuff like that. Boogeyman 2, The Boogeyman. A young woman attempts to cure her phobia of the boogeyman by checking herself into a mental health facility, only to realize too little too late that she is now helplessly trapped with her own greatest fear. Borderland. On a trip to a Mexican border town, 3 college friends stumble upon a human sacrifice cult. Next up we have is, of course, a borderline cult. 3 serial killers team up at the U.S.-Mexican border town of Juarez to go on a killing spree. Borderline cult. Horror and thriller. Born. A 21-year-old virgin wakes up pregnant with a demonic fetus that possesses her and commands her to go on a murderous rampage. Born. Horror. Botched. During a heist in Russia, a professional thief finds himself dealing with serial killers, insane hostages, double-crossing psycho-Russian hardmen, and the real possibility of a horrible death. Botched. Brain Dead. The story of 6 people caught in the unusual predicament of being stranded in a deserted fishing lodge with a host of alien-infected people. Brain Dead. I like this title. Brotherhood of Blood. Claustrophobic thriller about a team of vampire hunters who infiltrate a nest of undead to rescue one of their own. Maybe you should get a life of your own before it's too late. Brutal Massacre, a comedy. David Naughton stars as a famed horror director, Harry Penderick, whose career has been plagued by violent mishaps and critics' attacks. David Naughton. Buried Alive. A group of college students are hunted by the evil spirit of a woman who was buried alive years ago near their secluded vacation house. So some ancient witch is going to be killing a group of college students. I love it. Cadaverella. Cinder knew her life was over when her father came home from a business trip with her new wife and her 2 daughters when she was only 6. When her father dies soon afterwards, she pretty much has to care for herself. Cadaverella. Diary of a Cannibal. They met on the internet. They fell in love. They drove to the desert and stopped at an abandoned warehouse. They wandered inside, and soon death creeps upon them. Captivity. A man and a woman awaken to find themselves trapped in a cellar. As their kidnapper drives them mad, the truth about their horrific abduction is revealed. Captivity. Carved. The Slit-Mouthed Woman. A suburban town in Japan is the victim of what is supposedly just an urban legend. A woman's spirit with a horribly disfigured face who is intent on kidnapping children for unknown reasons. Carved. Catacombs. Victoria visits her sister in Paris and goes to rave in the catacombs under the city on her first night. The remains of over 6 million people are there, and something evil is lurking in the tunnels. Catacombs. Cecily. Cecily experiences a rape, but no traces are found. Her husband commits her to a psychiatric hospital. With the help of a psychiatrist, she sees a frightening connection between her condition and a brutal murderer dating more than 30 years back. Chill. In this classic retro horror thriller, Sam, an aspiring writer, takes a job as a clerk in LA inner city grocery market, owned by the sinister Dr. Munoz. Chill. Horror goes retro. Clay. Clay is a killer. He walks the streets, picking his victims by fate. Behind his madness lies Sam, his father, a man unknowingly raised a serial killer. Clay. We love Clay. Croc. A huge man-eating crocodile terrorizes people near Thailand. A hunter stalks the beast while a local tries to blame a foreign crocodile farm owner for the crocodile's rampage. Cry of the Winged Serpent. A young man is given an amulet that can call upon the power of a mythical winged serpent, which he uses to get revenge on the murderers of his family. I love how people get revenge. I like revenge movies. Darn Divorce. What started with a routine divorce between Natalie and Stein and her husband Tim will soon take a turn into the unexpected and evolve into scenes of torture, bloodshed, and slaughter. Darn Divorce. Dark Mirror. A photographer moves her family into a strange old house where she discovers an alternate reality reflected in the glass. A dark reality that is closing in on her. Dark Mirror. Days of Darkness. Humanity makes its last stand as zombies emerge to take over the world in the cinematic tale of gore and chaos. Days of Darkness. Dead Clowns. Dead Clowns revolves around ordinary people in a small town in Florida. A hurricane has just slammed into the area, causing torrential downpour, awakening the clowns that died in the bay of town. Dead clowns are reawakened. Dead Heist. 4 friends plan the perfect small town bank heist, but choose the wrong night. Dead Heist. Action, crime, horror, and thriller. I love it. I love it. The Haunted Casino, or Dead Man's Hand. After Matthew inherits a rundown old casino from his deceased uncle, Matthew and friends decide to check the place out. The Haunted Casino will not disappoint. Dead Moon Rising. In the horrific future, the living dead have taken control of the planet and imprisoned the remaining humans, allowing them to reproduce and serve as food reservoir. Dead Moon Rising. Dark Comedy. Dead Noon. With the powers of hell at his disposal, Frank, a bloodthirsty outlaw from the Old West, is resurrected to seek revenge on the present-day town of Weston. I love how people have to come back and get revenge. Dead Tone. Finals at the prestigious University of Draceville are finally over and it's time to party. Little do they know that when they party, people are going to die one by one. Dead Tone. Dead Mary. A group of friends enjoying a weekend in the woods play a game of Dead Mary and summon an evil witch who begins possessing them one by one. Hey, let's play the game Dead Mary. No, I don't believe that, and see what happens. Dead Silence. I love Dead Silence. After his wife meets a grisly end, Jamie returns to his haunted hometown of Ravens to find answers. His investigations leads him to the ghost of a ventriloquist named Mary Shaw. Dead Wood. 4 friends escape the grime of the city and head out into the woods for a peaceful, relaxing weekend. I love these films. 4 friends, a group of college friends, always go into the woods. I don't know anybody that goes into the woods. No one says let's go to the woods. Deadwood Park. The small community of Idon Crossing once boasted a flourishing economy and great prosperity, fueled by Dogwood Park. But soon, one by one, people started to die. Deadwood Park. Death of a Ghost Hunter. Renowned ghost hunter is paid to conduct a paranormal investigation of a supposedly haunted house. Along with a cameraman, a reporter, and a spiritual advocate, she embarks on a 3-night journey into terror. Death Proof. I love Death Proof. 2 separate sets of voluptuous women are stalked at different times by a scarred stuntman who uses his death-proof cars to execute his murderous plans. We love Death Proof. The Deaths of Ian Stone. A man awakens each day as a new person, only to be murdered again by horrifying pursuers. The Deaths of Ian Stone. Horror and thriller. We love it. Decadent Evil 2. Sweet vampire Sugar and her human boyfriend Dex travel with Marvin to revive Marvin's dead son, a vampire hunter. Decadent Evil 2. Decoys 2. Alien Seduction. Sam, a college student in a small northwestern town, reluctantly joins his roommates in a contest to see who can hook up with the most gorgeous co-eds by the end of the semester. Decoys. Teen horror. Dead of Winter. The movie is about a serial killer who escapes from an asylum and happens upon some young folk having some winter fun. Dead of Winter. Not winter. Dead of Winter. Winter. The Devil's Chair. With a pocket full of drugs, Nick West takes out his girlfriend Sammy for a good time. Soon, people start to die one by one. The Devil's Chair. You're all, Tony, why are you talking about Diary of the Dead? A group of young film students run into real-life zombies while filming a horror movie of their own. Maybe you should get a life of your own before it's too late. Diary of the Dead. Doomed. On a new TV reality series titled Survival Island 2020, contestants are deposited on a remote island, all whom are felons facing long prison sentences. One by one, people start to die. Dragon Wars. The War. Once in 500 years, ancient mythical creatures come to Earth, wreaking havoc and destruction. This time they must be stopped. Dragon Wars. The War. Dream Cruise. Absolutely terrified of the sea, an American lawyer reluctantly goes on an ocean cruise to be near the wife of a client. Dream Cruise. See, that's right there. See, I hate the water. I hate ships and boats and all that. I hate sharks. They'll never catch me by a boat or reluctantly going on a boat. Dreamland. Megan and Dylan are crossing the Nevada desert in an old car to visit their foster parents. Then one by one, people start to die around them. Dreamland. Horror, mystery, and sci-fi. Drive-thru. Horror gets supersized when Horny the Clown, the demonic mascot of Hellenberger, starts slashing Orange County teenagers with his meat cleaver from hell. We love Drive-thru. We love it. Dark comedy. Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield. The twisted and murderous appetites of the notorious Ed Gein, whose depredations in his small town of Plainfield come as quite a shock to his neighbors. Eden Log. A man wakes up in an underground cave next to a dead body. He has no memory of how he got there and starts to try and work his way to the surface and escape from the network of tunnels. Eden Log. The Orphanage. A woman brings her family back to her childhood home, which used to be an orphanage for handicapped children. Before long, her son starts to communicate with an invisible new friend. The Orphanage. End of the line. Karen boards a late-night train and fights with several other passengers to survive a murderous night after becoming trapped in a tunnel. End of the line. Slasher horror. Epitaph. A series of horrifying events plagued a Korean hospital in the 1940s. Drama and horror. Epitaph. Originally titled Gidam. G-I-D-A-M. Gidam. XD. Hair extensions. About hair extensions that attack the women that wear them. Body horror, comedy, and horror. So if you got hair extensions, it's probably going to strangle you and kill you. Hair extensions. Eye of the Beast. Straight to TV sci-fi channel. A young scientist arrives to a small fishing town to fight against a creature living under the water. Eye of the Beast. We love it. Fears of the Dark. Several scary black and white animated segments into different styles appeal to our fears of the dark. Fears of the Dark. Adult animation and horror. Fire Serpent. Alien creatures emerge from the sun and attack Earth. Action, adventure, horror, and sci-fi. Fire Serpent. You'll love it. If you like fire, you'll love Fire Serpent. Firstborn. A pregnant couple buys a mansion and moves out of New York City. Strange things start happening to the C-section anxious new mother. Firstborn, featuring Elizabeth Shue. Frankenstein. A gripping retelling of Mary Shelley's Gothic masterpiece. Set a few years into the future, Dr. Victoria Frankenstein works on an advanced stem cell research project. Frankenstein, straight to TV. Fraternity Massacre at Hell Island. Jack Jones, a pledge in Zeta Alpha Rho fraternity, must battle homophobia and a killer clown during his fraternity's Hell Night. We love it. Killer clowns. Frayed. Slasher horror. A small town sheriff's worst nightmare comes true when his homicidal son escapes from a psychiatric hospital. An intense manhunt ensues as the dark secret behind the son's evil past is revealed. Freak Show. A modern retelling of Todd Brown's Freaks tells the story of a group of criminals who chose to hide by working as security in a carnival. Freak Show. The Freak Show Apocalypse. A family of serial killer black magician sideshow freaks are called upon the Order of the Mystery, a secret society of wizards and zombies. Freaky Farley. When Farley Wilder meets a daring young woman, he gains the confidence to both stand up to his domineering father and also save the town from the people that he's been killing. Frontiers. A gang of young thieves flee Paris during the violent aftermath of a political election, only to hole up at an inn run by neo-Nazis. Frontiers. Gabriel. Gabriel the Archangel fights to bring light back to purgatory, a place where darkness rules, and save the souls of the city's inhabitants. Gabriel. We love it. We love it. Ghost Son. A widowed newlywed stays on her deceased husband's South African farm, then bears a child who seems to be possessed by the dead man. Ghost Son. The Girl Next Door. In a quiet suburban town in the summer of '58, two recently orphaned sisters are placed in the care of their mentally unstable Aunt Ruth. The Girl Next Door. We love it. We love it. Gorgasm. About a sick, perverted maniac called Cock-Faced Killer who keeps in fear the whole city. Now it's up to Mark, a simple clerk in one of the stores, to find out who the killer is. Gothic Vampires from Hell. The band Gothic Vampires from Hell knew the music business was tough, but they didn't know it was that tough. Horror. Blood, Guts, and Goth. Planet Terror. After an experimental bioweapon is released, turning thousands into zombie-like creatures, it's up to the ragtag group of survivors to stop the infected and those behind its release. Grizzly Revenge, or Grizzly Rage rather. After accidentally killing a bear cub while celebrating graduation in the woods, 4 teens become the target of a seemingly unstoppable grizzly. Grizzly Rage. This is straight to TV, folks. Hack. Wanting to raise their grades, a handful of college kids are randomly selected for a field trip to study wildlife, but don't get the chance as the cliche horror film style murders occur. Hallowed Ground. When her car breaks down in a small town, Liz meets journalist Sarah, who tells her husband about the town's bloodthirsty past. Hallowed Ground. Evil unearthed. Halloween. I just saw this about a week ago. After being committed for 15 years, Michael Myers, now a grown man and still very dangerous, escapes from the mental institution and immediately returns to Haddonfield to find his baby sister, Laurie. Left for Dead. A desperate criminal and a merciless posse becomes trapped in a remote Mexican ghost town by a vengeful demon. Left for Dead. Hannibal Rising. Serial killer. Trauma and tragedy during World War II warp young Hannibal Lecter's mind. Hannibal Rising. Next that we have is Hansel and Gretel. After meeting a mysterious girl on a dark stretch of road, a young salesman is invited to a beautiful house with bizarre secrets and no way to escape. Hansel and Gretel. The haunting hour, don't think about it. Bullied by her peers, tired of her parents, and bugged by her little brother, Goth Girl decides to get some harmless revenge by reading a scary book to her brother, summoning a monster in the process. Headcase, a film edited from the home movies of serial killers Wayne and Andrea, which presents a look into their quiet suburban lives. Headcase, crime and horror. Headless Horseman. 7 college kids take a shortcut on their way to a party and unfortunately end up in Wormwood, where the spirit of the Headless Horseman hunts them one by one. I love this movie. Headless Horseman will not disappoint. Carnivorous. After being kidnapped, Kate Walker wakes up to find herself trapped in a small chamber. She realizes she's not the only prisoner, as 19 others share the same fate. Carnivorous, or Hell's Labyrinth. The hills have eyes too. A group of National Guard trainees find themselves battling against a vicious group of mutants on their last day of training in the desert. This movie was good, very good. Horror and thriller. Homesick. A maniac with a suitcase full of razor blades unleashes a superhuman killer upon a group of kids in a small Alabama town. He's killing kids. I love it. Homesick. Hostel Part 2. 3 American college students studying abroad are lured to a Slovakian hostel and discover the grim reality behind it. Hostel Part 2. Splatter, horror, and horror. We love it. We love it. House of Fears. The night before a local haunted house opens for Halloween, 6 friends sneak in for a few hours of fun. Soon after entering, they find themselves trapped inside with no way out. House of Fears. Hybrid. Made for TV. After an accident causes him to lose his sight, Aaron finds himself in a fight for survival. He must learn to embrace his inner animal or become another failed experiment. Hybrid. I Am Legend. Years after a plague kills most of humanity and transforms the rest into monsters, the sole survivor in New York City struggles valiantly to find a cure. I Am Legend. I love this movie. Ice Spiders, made for TV like sci-fi. A top secret government project has produced giant spiders and they have escaped, killing and eating everything in sight. I like that. They escape. Someone released them. Alright. In the Spider's Web. In India, the backpacker American friends Gina hike in the woods with their guide Brian. When Geraldine is bitten by a poisonous spider, the group decides to seek an American doctor. Soon, death rages upon them. Inside. 4 months after the death of her husband, a woman on the brink of motherhood is tormented in her home by a strange woman who wants her unborn baby. Inside. Invasion of the Pod People. After a woman's closest friends and co-workers undergo extreme personality changes, she begins to suspect that they have been replaced by malevolent alien invaders. Invasion of the Pod People. It's my party, and I'll die if I want to. Join Sarah and her friends as they celebrate her birthday. In the reputedly haunted Burkitt Manor, the evil within the house has awoken and has brought some along uninvited guests. Jack Brooks, Monster Slayer. A troubled young man still mourning the childhood loss of his family now has to deal with his professor being turned into a monster. Jack Brooks, Monster Slayer. Dark comedy horror. Jekyll. While researching a cure for cancer, Dr. Henry Jekyll creates a computer-generated alter ego, Mr. Hyde. A creature of animal appetites and uncontrollable impulses, he goes on a killing spree. Jekyll. Joshua. The arrival of a newborn girl causes the gradual disintegration of the Karen family, particularly for 9-year-old Joshua, an eccentric boy whose proper upbringing and refined taste both take a sinister turn. Joshua. Kaden. Japan 250 years ago. Sotsu is a moneylender who is killed by the cruel samurai. His body is dumped into the river. According to legend, all who drown in the river will never surface again. But he does. Ka. A small town is attacked by ravens and doesn't know why the ravens are working together. Ka! 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 See, that's what the movie's called. Ka! The Killing Floor. A literary agent moves into a penthouse apartment. Soon after the move, he receives crime scene photographs that seem to have been taken into his new apartment. Next, he receives a series of stalker videotapes that document his every move. I love it. Knock, knock. Who's there? A night of fun turns deadly for some high school students. I love it. A group of students, a group of thugs, a group of campers into the woods. I love it. Late Dead. 3 sisters and a group of their friends take a trip to the home of the recently deceased grandfather, who died a particularly grisly death, to learn more about the promise of an inheritance, only to encounter a family of psychos. Lake Death. Lake Placid 2. Man-eating crocodiles return to the lake as 2 males and 1 aggressive female crocodile, protecting their nests, wreak havoc on the locals. Lake Placid. I love the poster. Look at the hand. The arm sticking out. Long Pigs. 2 filmmakers document a cannibal killer's life as they uncover inconsistencies in his stories and interview a victim's father. Tensions rise. This is found footage. Man-Eater. A tiger is loose on a small town and only a young boy, a sheriff and the hunter, to destroy the beast. Man-Eater. We love it. We love it. Mega Snakes. In 1986 in Tennessee, the father of the boys, Lester and Duff, is murdered by a snake in a weird ceremony. 20 years later, Duff collects snakes while Les fears them. Made for TV. Mega Snake. The Messengers. An ominous darkness invades a seemingly serene sunflower farm in North Dakota, and the Solomon family is torn apart by suspicion, mayhem, and murder. The Messengers. Metamorphosis. In the 17th century, while Hungary is fighting the Turks, the population of a small village in the Carpathian Mountains faces the evil Countess Elizabeth Bathory. Metamorphosis. Mother's Day Massacre. Nobody escapes the bloodletting in this heartwarming tale of family reunited. Jim is a shy teen whose mom left when he was a child. Mother's Day Massacre. Motocross Zombies from Hell. Follow longtime best friends, the motocross rider, his tuner, and their wisecracking female friend as they prepare for a big off-road race weekend, only to be killed by zombies. Funny Games. 2 psychopathic young men take a family hostage in their cabin. Psychological thriller, tragedy, and crime. Funny Games. Mummy Maniac. A serial killer abducts young women and wraps them up a bit like mummies. True crime horror. Mummy Maniac. Murder Party. A random invitation to a Halloween party leads a man into the hands of a rogue collective intent on murdering him for the sake of their art, sparking a bloodbath of mishap, mayhem, and hilarity. Murder Party. B-horror satire. My name is Bruce. mistaken for his character Ash from The Evil Dead. Trilogy, Bruce Campbell is forced to fight a real monster in a small Oregon town. My name is Bruce. Nature of the Beast. Rich and Julia are a perfect young couple preparing for their upcoming wedding. But then Julia discovers that Rich is hiding one huge hairy secret. When the moon is full, Rich transforms into a ferocious werewolf. Necroville. In Necroville, a city overrun by zombies, vampires, werewolves, and other monsters, Jack and his best friend Alex, a monster extermination company. Vampires, werewolves, and zombies. Nether Beast Incorporated. A quirky twist on the vampire tale, set in a modern-day corporate America. Dark comedy, horror, and fantasy. Nether Beast Incorporated. Night Junkies. In London, Vincent Monroe is a young man addicted in blood that wanders through the red light district, looking for lonely people to satisfy his addiction. Horror, romance, and thriller. Night Junkies. Night Skies. March 13, 1997, 5 friends bound for Las Vegas accidentally hit a stalled truck belonging to an ex-soldier. Night Skies, horror, sci-fi, and thriller. One Night in a City, a feature-length narrative animated film from one of the directors of Film Farm 2. Mysterious and extraordinary stories of loneliness and horror. One Night in a City. Outpost. In war-torn Eastern Europe, a mysterious businessman hires a group of mercenaries on a routine mission to protect him, not knowing the long-hidden secret that lies there. Outpost. P2. A businesswoman is pursued by a psychopath after being locked in a parking garage on Christmas Eve. P2 will not disappoint. Paranormal Activity. After moving into a suburban home, a couple becomes increasingly disturbed by a nightly demonic presence. Paranormal Activity. This movie was creepy and it was good, which launched around 7 or 8 of them. Pirates of Ghost Island. After enjoying a graduation party amid a cruise, an unexpected storm strikes, stranding a group of young friends on an inhabited island. Before they know it, they are thrown into a whirlwind battle with pirates of Ghost Island. Flight of the Living Dead. A mad scientist is transferring a dead woman in a freezer with an armed guard on a plane to Paris. After slight turbulence, the freezer breaks down and she awakens and turns into a zombie. Planet Raptor. Year 2066. The raptors are not extinct and they proliferated in the corner of the galaxy, leaving a very little place for the humans. Planet Terror. After an experimental bioweapon is released, turning thousands into zombie-like creatures, it's up to a ragtag group of survivors to stop the inflicted and those behind its release. Planet Terror. Popsicle. Popsicle depicts the lonely and disjointed life of Daniel, a young Alabama pill addict, and his effort to cope with the trials of his day-to-day life as they collide. Drama, horror, and thriller. The Attic. Emma and her family are unhappy after moving to her house. One day she went to the attic and found someone who looked like her and began haunting her. The Attic. Somebody Help Me. The screenplay centers on characters Brendan Young and Daryl Jennings, who take a trip to Lake Arrowhead with a group of college friends to celebrate Young's girlfriend's birthday. One by one, the Coens begin disappearing. Somebody Help Me. The Cry. In New York, a detective is investigating the disappearance of several children. When visiting a Mexican witch, She advises that a powerful evil force is chasing the reincarnation of her son. The Cry. The Mad. A comedy horror thriller in which a doctor and his teenage daughter are terrorized by flesh-eating zombies at a truck stop. The Mad. B-horror and dark comedy. The Mad. Prey. An American family on holiday in Africa becomes lost in a game reserve and stalked by lions. We love this movie. We love it. Adventure, drama, horror, and sci-fi. Prey. Primal. A group of unsuspecting college students embark on a mission into the forest in hopes of finding evidence of endangered species. What they don't realize is that they have wandered onto the feeding grounds of a vicious and calculating predator. We love it. We love it. Prime Evil. When strange anomalies start to appear all over England, Professor Cutter and his team must track down and capture all sorts of dangerous prehistoric creatures from the Earth's distant past and near future. Prime Evil. Psycho Ward. While on a research outing, a group of urban explorers get more than they bargained for when they visit the site of an abandoned mental hospital and discover it's hiding a terrifying secret. Death is only a way out. Pumpkinhead 4, Blood Feud. When the true love between two young lovers is threatened by their family's violent feud, their only chance at peace leads them to summoning the monstrous Pumpkinhead, who brings even greater horrors. We love Pumpkinhead. Rapturous. Hip-hop meets horror in this twisted tale directed by the Jerky Boys. Binging on hard drugs while rapper Rapturous spins into a murderous hallucinations. Rapturous. Razortooth. The concept is based on a true story concerning an exotic species of eels that are released in the southeast from Asia. They breathe air and can survive on land. Razortooth. Action, adventure, comedy, and horror. Wreck. I love Wreck. A television reporter and cameraman follow emergency workers into a dark apartment building and are quickly locked inside with something terrifying. Wreck. We love Wreck. Resident Evil. Extinction. Survivors of the Raccoon City catastrophe travel across the Nevada desert, hoping to make it to Alaska. Alice joins the caravan in their fight against the evil Umbrella Corps. Return to House on Haunted Hill. Several years after Sarah and Eddie escaped the former asylum and its inmates, Ariel, Sarah's sister, visits the house looking for answers and the truth behind her sister's insane claims about what happened inside. Right to Die. When a grisly car accident puts his wife into a coma, a man reluctantly pulls the plug, only to realize her spirit has turned vengeful against the living. Maybe you should get a life of your own before it's too late. Rise of the Dead. In the sleepy small town of Dudley, Ohio, a terrifying future awaits. Laura is under attack by the undead, and not even those closest to her can save her from the evil forces at hand. Rise, Blood Hunter. A reporter wakes up in a morgue and finds herself a member of the undead before vowing revenge against the sect which put her there. I love it. I love revenge films. It's all about payback. Rogue, How Fast Can You Swim? An American journalist on assignment in the Australian outback encounters a man-eating crocodile while trapped on a rapidly flooding mud island. I love it. I love it. Room 205. Katrine moves to a student residence in Copenhagen. She's told the myth of the ghost from Room 205. But when a mirror breaks, an evil spirit is released and the body count starts. Saw 4. Despite Jigsaw's death, and in order to save the lives of two of his colleagues, Lieutenant Riggs is forced to take part in a new game, which promises to test them to the limit. We love it. We love it. Scar. Joan Burrows returns to her hometown for her niece's graduation, only to be confronted by the serial killer she thought she offed years ago, after he kidnapped and tormented her and killed her best friend. Scar. Secrets of the Clown. After the brutal murder of his best friend, Jim, Bobby is haunted by a presence. Secrets of the Clown. Horror. This movie is creepy and scary. Check it out. See Jane Run. See Jane Run is a horror film from JQ Productions about psychological instability, religion, suburbia, and good old Texas barbecue. See Jane Run. Shadow Puppets. 8 strangers with no memory find themselves trapped in an abandoned facility as they desperately try to find answers and escape their own shadows attempt to consume them from the darkness. Shadow Puppets. Shaolin vs. Evil Dead: The Ultimate Power. Less a sequel than a prequel, it's more zombies and vampires in this highly anticipated sequel to Shaolin vs. Evil Dead. So check out Shaolin vs. Evil Dead. Shrooms. A group of friends are stalked and murdered whilst looking for a psilocybin mushroom in the Irish woods. Shrooms. B-horror, psychological horror, and horror. Slick Girl. With her parents dead, an already unstable teenager embarks on a blood-soaked journey of torture, violence, and retribution. Psychological horror, crime, and horror. Sick Girl. Sick Nurses. A group of sexy nurses who harvest organs are haunted by the vengeful spirit of one of their dead patients. Sick Nurses. We love it. We love it. Sideshow. A suburban family traveling the back roads of the southeast in search of historic roadside attractions finds more than they bargained for when they happen upon a rustic sideshow museum that houses a dark secret. Sideshow. The Signal. A horror film told in 3 parts, from 3 perspectives in which a mysterious transmission that turns people into killers invades every cell phone, radio, and television. Skin Crawl. A young woman named Margaret is brutally murdered, victim of her husband's cold-blooded plot to inherit her wealth. An ages-old curse lying dormant for generations will manifest itself before the eyes of those of Margaret's killers. Slasher. A group of friends take a break from their studies but find themselves pursued through the backwoods of Germany by a savage lunatic. I love it. When you always get pursued in the woods. I love it. Small Town Folk. Excuse me. There is a place called Brockleton, where high on the hilltop stands the lonely Beasley Manor. Always on the lookout for new female company with killings. Snuff 102. A young reporter fascinated by the urban legend of snuff movies gets more than she bargained for when her deep research begins. Voices. This creepy supernatural thriller revolves around paranoid belief that those dearest to you may want you dead. Something beneath. Just under your feet lurks an evil so deadly, so intelligent it's scary. The attendees of an ecological summit are about to discover a bigger problem than global warming. I love it. I love it. This was straight to TV though. Straight to Sci-Fi Network. The Legend of Sorrow Creek. Kayla and Jesse love spending their childhood summers at their grandfather's secluded cottage in the pristine mountains of rural New England. Now, 15 years since their last visit, the sisters return along with Kayla's boyfriend. Southern Gothic. A man who must atone for a tragic mistake by saving a little girl from a ruthless undead creature. Drama and horror. Southern Gothic will not disappoint. Species, The Awakening. When she reaches the end of her lifespan, a scientist rushes to Mexico in order to save the half-bred alien seductress he raised as his docile niece, but soon awakens the deadly sexual predator inside her. Spiker. Spiker is a pink-eyed albino serial killer who slashes his victims with railroad spikes and buries the bodies under train tracks. He escapes from an asylum and returns to the small town he terrorized years before. Splatter Beach. Something ancient lurks in the surf off Sea Bright Beach. It swims silently, can breathe air, and walks upright. Splatter Beach. Splatter Disco. The owner of a fetish club finds out that, along with dealing with his wife who wants to leave him, his dying father, and the senior wanting to close his club, he now has to deal with a psycho killer that's offing his employees and patrons. Sport Kill. Rachel's life will never be the same after being abducted and forced into the world of high stakes. Betting Rachel must decide to play or be played. Steak Night. Brian and his long-estranged paintball team are back on the bus after 5 years, and they're up for one more final mission. Steak Night, or Stag Night. Stash. Bud, a Kentucky moonshiner with a marijuana-growing operation, harbors a dark secret trapped under his cabin. When two people threaten his illicit endeavors, violent confrontations ensue, leading to bloodshed. Stash. Steel Trap. 7 guests are invited to an after party on the abandoned floor of an office building, handpicked to play a series of sadistic and deadly puzzles. Steel Trap Slasher Horror. Stirs of Echo, The Homecoming. A soldier returns home from the Iraq War only to be haunted by visions of the dead. We love her. We love her. Storm Warning. A yuppie couple lost in a thick brush-filled marsh seek refuge at an isolated farmhouse only to discover they jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. Sublime. A man gets a colonoscopy. He wakes up in a hospital bed after a wrong operation. He's confused, scared, and thinks back at talks at his 40th birthday party about hospital errors and scams. Sublime. Succubus. Hellbent. Sometimes what happens at spring break doesn't stay at spring break. It follows you home. Succubus. Hellbent. We love it. We love it. Creek. A group of friends driving to Las Vegas to attend a horror convention decide to stop at a roadside attraction, promising the opportunity to find gold. Creek. Horror and thriller. We love it. We love it. Summer Scars. A group of teens are faced with a life-changing experience when they meet a deranged drifter. Summer Scars. Their innocence is their downfall. I love it. I love it. Super Croc. A team of soldiers must stop a giant, bloodthirsty crocodile from reaching a nearby city while trying to avoid being a meal for the beasts themselves. Supergator. An American geologist is monitoring a local volcano when the Supergator, a prehistoric alligator recreated from fossilized DNA, escapes from a secret bioengineering research center. Supergator. Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. The legendary tale of a barber who returns from wrongful imprisonment to 1840s London. This movie will not disappoint. The Tattooist. A young artist unknowingly plays a role in releasing a deadly spirit as she attempts to learn tattoo. Teeth. Still a stranger to her own body, a high school student discovers she has a physical advantage when she becomes the object of male violence. Teeth. Body horror, dark comedy, and comedy. Terror Toons 2. Terror Toons 2 is a 2007 direct-to-DVD movie, whereas an After Girls Play, a DVD movie. Terror Toons 2. The Black Cat. The Black Cat, set in 1840 Philadelphia, has the great writer Edgar Allan Poe struggling with alcoholism, writer's block, as well as being out of ideas. The Black Cat. The Butcher, a tragic car accident in the middle of nowhere, finds 6 stranded college students fighting for their lives. The Butcher. The Chanting 2, a young college student has recently moved out of her old haunted boarding house, escaping from followers. The Cradle. When Frank and Julie move to a small, isolated town with their son Sam, both Julie and Sam become ill. The Cradle. The Dread. A young woman becomes filled with a horrible dread when she discovers that her brother may actually be something other than he appears. The Dread. We love the Dread. We love it. We love it. The Empty Acre. Invisible force preys on Kansas farming town, luring couples' babies from barren acre. Horror chronicling parents' turmoil after mysterious entity abducts infant. The Empty Acre. The Evil Woods. A group of teenagers take a weekend camping trip to party and have fun and relax. After pitching a tent in a desolate area, they become panicked when a stranger startles them and warns of the killer ghost in the woods. Who goes to the woods? I'm going to the woods. The Fun Park. 6 teens discover that the ghost of Bobo the Clown living in an abandoned fun park is more than urban legend. Now, real quick. Well, hey, Tony, what are you doing this weekend? I'm going to go out to the woods. I'm going to go hang out in the woods. Who does that? Who goes to the woods? This is inspired by a true story of 3 horrible murders that happened to 3 women in the years past. Ban Phil Singh. The House. Ban Phil Singh. The Legend of Bloody Jack. The legend of Jack the Ripper comes to life when one of his descendants revive him. The Legend of Bloody Jack. We love it. We love it. Look how he's dragging the woman on the bottom. See how he's dragging the woman? I love it. I love it. The Stitcher. This is straight to video. From the director who brought you Toe Tags and Brandon comes a new face of terror. Inspired by true events, a group of friends must survive the weekend in order to escape the terror that is beyond their imagination. The Washingtonians. A family man unearths an old letter claiming that historical figure George Washington was a cannibal, and that a colonial-era reenactment group may be upholding that way of life. The Washingtonians. The Wind of Fear. After a failed suicide attempt, Claudia is committed to an institution for troubled teens. Inside the place, Claudia encounters the ghost of Andrea, a previous patient at the center who supposedly died at the facility. The Ferrymen. The story of a group of 20-somethings who charter a boat to Fiji for the trip of a lifetime, before stumbling upon an evil that demands vengeance at any cost. The Ferryman. The Hitcher. A couple from college get caught in a dangerous game of cat and mouse with a psychopathic hitchhiker, and the police after witnessing a murder and being framed. The Hitcher. The Hitchhiker. 4 young women driving across the desert to Las Vegas have their road trip turned upside down when they pick up a handsome, seemingly friendly hitchhiker. When their car breaks down near a roadside motel in the middle of nowhere, they find themselves trapped with a woman-hating, masochistic killer. Invasion. As a Washington, D.C. psychiatrist unearths the origin of an alien epidemic, she also discovers her son might be the only way it can be stopped. The Invasion. The Mist. I love The Mist. After a massive thunderstorm, an eerie, unwavering fog descends upon a Maine community. Locals seek refuge in a grocery store from the monstrous creatures now roaming the countryside, killing everyone they encounter. The Mist. Mother of Tears. An American art student in Rome accidentally triggers the return of Mater Lacrimarian, the third mother, and must use her later magical powers to the end witch's reign of terror. The Tomb. A being known as the Puppet Master holds victims captive in a tomb and tortures them. We love it. We love it. Drama, horror, and thriller. Next up we have is The Chair. Danielle, a young psychology student, is trying to rebuild her life when she sublets a century-old Victorian house. Unknowingly, she awakens an evil specter lurking in the dark recesses of her new home. The Chair. We love it. We love it. The Dead One. A young man is killed and resurrected by the Aztec god of death as his slave. We love it. We love it. The Haunting of Sorority Row. Samantha Willows, a college freshman, looks to pledge a sorority. Unbeknownst to Sam, it is haunted by a former pledge taking revenge on those who wronged her. The Haunting of Sorority Row. The Rage. A crazed scientist experiments with the rage virus on innocent victims in a laboratory in the woods. When his monstrous subjects escape and vultures devour the remains, they become mutations seeking to feed on humans. I love it. Again, back in the woods. The Reaping. A former Christian missionary who specializes in debunking religious phenomena investigates a small town which seems to be suffering from the 10 biological plagues. The Reaping. They Come Back. A psychologist reluctantly takes on a child patient whose parents died when the three of them were in a car. The girl has become somewhat disassociated, and the question becomes whether she is just off or it's actually being haunted by a ghost. They Wait. A young mother and her 6-year-old son come face to face with the mysteries of 2 murders and a great crime against the Chinese community. They Wait. Horror, mystery, and thriller. Timber Falls. A weekend of campaign in the mountains becomes an excursion into hell for a young couple who become pawns in a grotesque plot hatched by deranged people. Tooth and Nail. A group of people in a post-apocalyptic world fight to survive against a band of vicious cannibals. Next up we have is Trackman. A perfect bank heist turns deadly when the robbers and their hostages flee to the abandoned underground subway station where they encounter the Trackman, a deformed madman that prowls the darkness. So those bank robbers now have to deal with a madman. I love it. I love it. Trick or Treat. I love the visuals. Very, very Halloween-y. 5 Halloween stories. A principal has a secret life. A virgin is looking for her first time. A group of kids pull a prank. And a woman who loathes Halloween does not respect the rules. And a mean old man meets a demonic trick-or-treater. Trigger Man. Inspired by true events, the story of 3 hunters who mysteriously became the hunted. Trigger Man. Next up we have is Tyrannosaurus Azteca. A band of 16th century conquistadores must fight for their lives when they realize they're going to be served as sacrifices to a godlike T-Rex. Tyrannosaurus Azteca. Undead or Alive. A Zombie Day. Elmer Winslow is a soldier on the run from the Union. And Luke is a cowboy with a broken heart. When the 2 misfits rob the corrupt sheriff in Old West Town, they have no idea that a plague of zombies is sweeping the country. High Stitches. An unknown creature terrorizes an archaeological dig in the middle of a desolate New Mexico town. High Stitches, or Unearthed. Unholy. A woman who lost her daughter to suicide investigates a theory that may have to do with the young girl's death. Horror, sci-fi, and thriller. Unholy. They know who you are. Vacancy. Stranded in an isolated motel, a couple become the unsuspecting subjects of a snuff film. Vacancy. Next up we have is We All Scream for Ice Cream. Years ago, they pulled a disastrous childhood prank on the neighborhood ice cream delivery man that got them killed, but now as they become adults with families of their own, the last thing anyone expected was for the man to come back in the form of a vengeful, bloodthirsty spirit. I love it. Welcome to the jungle. Two young couples head into the New Guinea wilderness in an effort to find Michael Rockefeller, the heir to the Rockefeller fortune who disappeared in 1961. Werewolf, the Devil's Hound. Kevin had it all, an exciting pyrotechnic job, a loving family, and a beautiful wife, until a chance encounter with a new girl in town helped him release his inner beast. I love it. I love it. Whisper. Sinister things begin happening to kidnappers who are holding a young boy for ransom in a remote cabin. White Noise 2. The Light. Following the loss of his family, a man attempts suicide only to discover upon waking that he can identify people who are about to die. White Noise 2. The Light. That's pretty creepy, huh? You have these magical powers. Wind Chill. Two college students share a ride home for the holidays, but when they break down on a deserted stretch of island, they are preyed upon by the ghosts of people who have died there. Wind Chill. Teen horror adventure. Wingrave. Three of the most challenging experiences that parapsychologist Henry Wingrave ever faced: the madness, death, and the relentless death. Wingrave. Last Colony, The Legend of Roanoke. In the 1580s, English colonists arrived in what was to become North Carolina and find supernatural terror. Lost Colony, The Legend of Roanoke. Wrong Turn 2, Dead End. A group of reality show contestants find themselves fighting for their survival against a family of hideously deformed inbred cannibals who plan to ruthlessly butcher them all. Zombie Cheerleading Camp. It's brains, and past the pom-poms as horror ensues when a camp full of airheaded cheerleaders face a contagious zombie virus. Zombie Town. Local mechanic Jake LaFawn's life is suddenly disrupted when mysterious parasites transform the law-abiding citizens into zombies. Zombie Town. We love Zombie Town. We love it. Zombies Gone Wild. Three guys go on a spring break trip and find more than they bargained for with a group of female zombies. Zombies Gone Wild. We love it. We love it. And next up we have is Zombie La Creación, The Beginning. A group of rough and tumble Marines led by Captain Jergens are sent by the powerful company Tyler Inc. to investigate reports of a zombie outbreak on a remote Pacific island. Zombies, The Beginning. Zombie Western, It Came from the West. Horror. Virgil lives alone with his bully father and a mute bartender, and he is being mocked by the two tough cowboys. The Dark Butcher, who has been terrorizing the local Indian tribe. Zombie Western. Those were the best horror films that came out in the year 2007. You may have found these on cable TV, straight to TV, or at your local drive-in or movie theaters worldwide. Let me know what were your favorite horror films in 2007 that you remember from that year. Obviously, every year has their key horror films, the blockbusters, the goriest, the scariest, the cheesiest, whatever. But these were all the best horror films that were released in 2007. Any questions, comments, or feedback, leave them below. Thank you for joining me here at Yesteryear TV. We're almost done wrapping up the best horror films of every year from the 1930s to 2020. And that was 2007. So stay tuned. We have left is 2008 through 2011. And then we are done with the horror series. I got a lot more surprises coming to you after this horror series. All right, I'm Tony. Thanks for joining me. A few more videos left in this series, and wait till you see what's coming next. I'll see you all for the best horror films of 2008.